carbon dioxide, and water vapor.
Water vapor.
Yes, are created as a byproduct of combustion. The main product from combustion that we're looking to get is what?
Heat.
That's correct. The heat energy. So that process, the fuel, in our case, oftentimes natural gas plus oxygen, aka our combustion air, are going to be used to create heat energy. That's what we're using to create heat. And then as a byproduct of that process, we have carbon dioxide and water vapor that are left. What is creosote?
What did you ask?
Creosote?
Isn't that when if that dries and it leaves like a white residue, and that white residue is combustible? So if you light up the furnace, that it can be hazardous because it can light up your chimney. Or did I explain it wrong?
Yeah, you got some right and some wrong. So, yes, creosote is produced by burning, specifically wood. Is how you get creosote. And on page 155, burning wood produces many compounds, including carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, water vapor, carbon, and creosote. Creosote is a particularly dangerous combustion byproduct because it is flammable and can ignite in a chimney and cause a fire. So yes, that is correct. Make sure that you are familiar with what that is. Again, our combustion air, we know, again, is a must-have in order to complete this combustion process. Can combustion air be drawn from inside the house? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
When should it not be drawn from inside the house?
If it's tightly, what is it called? Tightly
constructed.
Tightly, if it's sealed up.
Construction.
Yes, that's correct. If it's sealed up, should not be taken from the house. If it is taken from the outside, how do we get combustion air from the outside?
through a supply pipe.
Supply pipe?
Yes.
Like the supply duct? Is that what you mean?
Yes. So a pipe from outside brings in fresh air.
So
supplies to the house return is where you would get it from, right? The return duct.
Right. So that's what I'm trying to, Deja, what supply are you talking about? Because if we're talking about the supply duct, then you're referring to what supplies the house with conditioned air.
So what I'm thinking is for a condensing furnace, there's two pipes, and one brings in air from the outside, and the other releases the toxic gases outside.
Okay. So then in order to get combustion air from the outside, on page 158 at the top, it talks about having two openings or by two ducts. And you can see a diagram, a picture of what that looks like. So again, this is where when I say each house, the process is the same. If you have a gas forced air furnace and you have a condensing furnace, like it's going to be the same process, but the way that it's constructed may be different. They may be getting their combustion air from outside. They may be getting their combustion air from inside. More than likely, it's going to be on newer houses. It's going to be outside though. But make sure you're clear for your actual inspection purposes what that looks like, because knowing all of this will help you If you guys saw that live that I did with L from IF1 the other day, we were down in the basement and they're all kind of ducts and everything going which way. And knowing this will help you identify which is which. Okay? On page 160, again, it talks about that makeup air and also any defects for your combustion air. Please.
So,
Go ahead.
so that pipe bringing in fresh air to the furnace, that's not called the supply pipe.
No, I'm not exactly sure what pipe you're talking about, but when we talk about supply, we're typically talking about, again, the ducts that are providing the living space with the conditioned air.
Okay, so
It's going to be basically a combustion duct. So if the combustion is coming from outside, it's going to be a duct that is going to have an opening to the outside that is then bringing that air back to the furnace. It's going to be a duct.
Okay, is that not on the test?
Is what not on the test?
Bringing in combustion air from outside.
I mean, it could be.
So that when it's coming in from the house, it's a combustion vent.
Oh, okay, you're looking for the name of it. Yeah.
And that's like the furnace caps that terminate through the roof, right?
Say again?
The furnace vents that terminate through the roof.
No, it's probably not gonna terminate through the roof. More than likely what it shows up as is a vent. Typically when you have like a basement well, you don't know because you're in Florida, but when you have a basement, you have those glass block windows, and there's typically one of those windows that serves as a vent. It's open, right? So instead of having the glass block in that little square, it's open, and so air, and it has a screen, and the air can come in that way, and that is connected to the furnace. So that return air is coming. I mean, that combustion air is coming in through that way. And the same thing, if without a basement, it would probably be on the exterior of the house, a vent. Good questions. Anything else? Okay. Our heating equipment on page 162, how we classify it is by the energy that it's using or the fuel, right? So what types of fuel do we have?
Gas,
Natural gas, propane,
oil,
well,
electrical.
We have solid fuel, which is wood, coal. We have liquid fuel, heating oil, kerosene. Gas fuel, our natural gas and our propane. And then we have electric. So make sure that you know that when you say natural gas falls up under the gas fuel type of energy. So there's, again, solid, liquid, gas, and electric. Our distribution methods. Once we go through this whole process of combustion and we're able to heat up the air, how are we going to get it throughout our house?
Through the supply vent.
Forced air.
That's correct.
Forced air.
That's correct. So our distribution methods, what are they? We got four fuel types.
Gravity.
Go ahead.
radiation,
Who?
Forced air,
Gravity, forced air,
radiation,
hydronic,
radiant.
radiant. That's correct. So we got four fuel types: solid, liquid, gas, electric, and we got four distribution methods: forced air, gravity, hydronic, radiant. Which is the one that we've talked the most about?
Forced air.
Yes. Forced air, how does it distribute the conditioned air throughout the house? I'll just go
Ducts and vents. Motor.
There's a blower after.
It heats
That
up the
pushes the
heat
air.
exchangers.
Okay.
All right, hold up. Marcus, give me the answer. I talk about trades all the time,
Say
specifically.
that you on mute.
Go ahead. Tell me how forced air works.
The blower is going to push the air through the heat exchanger, and the heat exchanger is going to push it into two ways. The gas is going to go out the the exhaust vent, and then the heated air is going to go through
The gas is going out the vent.
Well, it's going to produce gas. The combustion is going to produce gas. And it's
Hold
gonna
up. Take a deep breath. What does combustion produce?
Carbon dioxide.
Okay. Combustion, in order to complete combustion, we use what?
You said the complete combustion?
Right.
Well, you just need air and fuel, right?
Right. So you said that combustion was creating gas. We don't create gas with combustion. We use gas and air to complete combustion, and then it creates.
Okay.
Okay.
And then that, correct. Okay.
How does the gravity distribution system work? How do we distribute the conditioned air via the gravity system? What heat transfer method is it relying on?
Stack effect.
Who?
Stack effect.
Is that a heat transfer method?
Or
That's correct. But is that a heat transfer method?
It's convection.
Is it what?
Convection.
Convection. Convection. To move heat from the furnace up through the house. Okay? Higher temperature air is less dense than the cooler air. So the warmer air is going to rise. That is the stack effect. So the gravity heat distribution method uses convection and the stack effect in order to move the conditioned air through the house. Hydronic is where a pump is heating a liquid through pipes to a radiator. I had this in an inspection the other day. We had a boiler and there was a radiator in every room. And so the boiler is basically pumping hot water throughout that radiator, and it is releasing the heat in each of those rooms. And then the last one is radiant. Okay. All right. Gas forced air furnaces. How do they work? What's the heating process?
So the thermostat starts the process. And
What is the thermostat processing?
the thermostat kicks on when you have your set temperature. So when it falls below a certain temperature, it'll kick on automatically.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. So in a gas furnace, is it okay. So it's going to come through the return.
What's coming through the return?
Let me start over. All right. So there's the light. So your igniter is going to kick on. Air is going to come in from your house, if that's the type of furnace you have. That's bringing.
We're talking about a gas forced air furnace. So I have a gas forced air furnace, and it's cold in my house. And so I walk over to the thermostat, and I'm on 68 degrees now. And so I hit the thermostat. I turn it up to 75 degrees because it's cold in my house. What's going to happen now?
Okay, so at this point, your furnace is going to ignite a flame and start heating up your heat exchanger. So that way,
Bro, call me. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. So it's gonna start heating up your heat exchanger, and then once your heat exchanger is hot enough,
Hold up.
you're gonna
Okay, so the thermostat, the thermostat ignites what?
the burner,
Okay, the pilot light, and then it lights the burners. Okay, and then
and then it starts to heat up your heat exchanger,
okay,
and then the blower will kick on once the heat exchanger is hot enough, and then it'll bring in air from your return duct and bring in air from your return duct to blow over the heat exchanger so you can get hot air into your home.
what happens before the air blows over the heat exchanger?
It goes through the filter.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have your inducer that'll your inducer will expel the gases from the heat exchanger and take them out of your home.
Yeah, that's about how it works. When you cut on that thermostat, it ignites the pilot light. Your burners light up. They do heat up the heat exchanger. The return air is bringing air in from the home. It's going through the filter to clean it from any dirt or debris that it has. And then it will blow up through the heat exchanger. It will absorb the heat from the heat exchanger. This whole, again, is all based on this process of combustion. We know those byproducts that are created that do have to be vented or exhausted out of our furnace, and then our warm air is supplied or distributed throughout the house via the supply duct. We all understand that process? Has anyone explained that process to somebody else? Give me a 1 in the chat if you explained it to somebody else. Were they impressed with your explanation? Was that the first time they had ever heard anybody explain to them how we get warm air in our homes? Okay, so that is our gas furnace. Remember our annual AFUE, annual fuel usage estimate. Is basically measuring the efficiency of our equipment, determining or measuring how much heat is delivered to the house based upon the amount of fuel that we're using. Again, remember, this whole process is based off of combustion. In order to complete combustion, we need fuel and we need air. So the AFUE is measuring how much heat do we get throughout the house based upon how much actual fuel that we're using. Page 170 and 171, please pay special attention to the defects specifically for category 1 and 4 furnaces. Please pay attention to those areas. Also, make sure that on page 186 starts the venting system, and it goes through a series of defects for the vent system. Again, remember, this is what we're talking about, venting out those gases from the combustion process. You need to read each of those defects and understand what they mean. Okay? Also on page 201, Make sure you read through the oil heating system. I haven't seen that many questions on oil, but you still want to make sure that you are clear on those. And then your gas supply, right? So how we're actually getting the natural gas in. A 1/2-inch supply line. On page 235. So again, the gas meter is either going to be outside or inside, and that is where we are getting the natural gas to supply to our furnace as well as our water heater. Okay? Touche? Y'all already know all of this? Y'all already feel good? We should just bounce. I didn't hear you. Y'all already know all of this?
I like heating better than cooling because it's less steps.
I would agree with you.
The only thing is the categories.
The categories don't matter. You're only typically going to see 1 and 4 anyways.
1 and 4?
Yeah.
Okay.
And in newer houses, you're going to see, if it's, just think about it like this. If it's a new house, it's probably 4. If it's an old house, it's probably 1.
Okay.
And the process of it, is still the same. We still got to have our combustion. We still got to have all of that. DM me, bro. But y'all know all of this that we going over. None of this is like y'all are hearing for the first time. Like, y'all, tell me how you feel.
I feel pretty good. Especially now with the heating section. I feel like this week I really got it. Like, I actually can retain it now. And a lot of stuff that I've been reading about is actually similar to should I use at work. So it's been easier to understand now that I know how a jet works, and it's the heating system and cooling system is similar to
that. Yeah.
I think I just need to go over the defects a little more, but most of the stuff it actually makes me want to go look at our furnace again, because now I'm like, man, there was some stuff up there that I can't even really identify. So I think I need to go back. It's just tough because ours is up in the attic, and I'm a big dude, and it's a little sketchy getting up. It's a little tight fit.
What do you have, a ladder do you have a pull down ladder that comes down, or what?
Well, it's weird. It actually to get there, you actually gotta go through one of the closets on the upstairs. So you gotta take out all the clothes, and then I gotta squeeze the ladder in there, and then I gotta kind of angle myself to get up in there. So it's a little tougher to get up in there, but no, I think I need to go take a look at it again.
If not yours, at least one of them, some furnace somewhere. So, and take your book so that you can identify. Again, it's the same process. It's going to be the same function. If it's a gas forced air furnace, it's going to be the same process. Again, it may be that upflow high boy, maybe a low boy, maybe horizontal, but the process is still the same. I would recommend that all of you gotta go and find. It's not enough to hear me talk about it and to even read about it in the book. You need to go and find it and make sure that you can identify these different components that we are talking about. If you saw on Facebook, Kiana from IF1 posted a picture of an evaporator coil. Did y'all see that? Wasn't it crazy to see the evaporator, that we've talked so much about this damn evaporator coil, and to finally see what it looks like? Did it help you at all? Did y'all pay any attention to it, or you just scroll right past it?
Yeah, I know when I saw it, I immediately knew where it was in the picture in the book, the little diagram. I remember where it was at the bottom of towards the bottom of the furnace, so that was cool to see.
Good. That's at this point, I would not recommend, don't have your nose stuck in the book. At this point, you should have already read, you should have already had your notes. You've had class, we've had lectures, we've had study sessions on it now. Now the most important part is being able to identify these things in real time, right? Because that's also that's not only going to help you be able to identify defects, but it's also going to help you find questions that you have. Once you can, it's like, okay, I understand it via the book and via you explaining it, but once you actually go see it in the different settings and our different states and all that kind of stuff, you might determine questions that you have based upon what you're actually seeing. Okay, so don't skip out on that part when you're doing your inspection reports that we have. If I were you, I would take my book and each system or component that I was looking, I would go through that defect section at the back. I would go through those almost kind of like a checklist when I'm doing my inspection and I'm writing my report. That's a good reminder of the defects that I'm going to be looking out for. Okay. All right. Plumbing. Y'all ready for plumbing? Who can?
I got a random question, cause
yes, sir.
When you do your inspections, for an example, is there like a certain amount of defects you're expecting to find? Like, do you ever finish an inspection and you're like, man, I didn't find that much stuff? Or is there like a certain number that you're looking for?
Yeah, there are. It just depends on the situation. For example, yesterday I did an inspection for an investor who's looking to buy a property. The property that he's buying is in the middle of being rehabbed. So there's no water, no electric. I mean, the furnace was there, but it wasn't working. So there was not a lot that I could actually test. So there wasn't a lot for me to really kind of find and report on because I wasn't able to test anything. And so when I'm doing inspections for my investors and they are typically buying older homes that need rehab, I'm expecting to find a crap ton of defects. As a matter of fact, so much so that every defect I don't always include because I would be there, the report would be 100 pages long if I literally, sat there and wrote down every report that we're facing. Tomorrow I have an inspection for a first-time home buyer who's buying a home that has already been put together. So I'm expecting to find less defects there. However, I will be taking my time and be careful to identify anything that may be concealed, right? Because when people put homes together and they look to sell them on the market, a lot of times they are trying to hide issues, right? For example, they will paint over a wall that has water stains because there's a leak in the plumbing pipes that are going up through the walls. So they paint the walls real white, kills them down real good, so you can't see any of that, right? So those are the type of things that I'll be looking for in my inspection tomorrow. So it just depends on what you're inspecting and who you're inspecting for. Anytime my investors call me, I already know. I already know it's going to be a long day. Tomorrow, I will probably have less defects, honestly, because again, they've done a lot of the work and they've corrected a lot of the issues so as to be able to sell the property.
Quick question, when you do see those properties with a ton of defects, what do you prioritize? What are the things that you might leave off, for example?
What do you think I prioritize?
Well, definitely I was going to say the gas system, plumbing.
I prioritize anything that is going to be a safety issue, which in a lot of these cases they are, because for example, the vent hood on the water heater is always rusted out or not attached. There's never a drain pan on the furnace. A lot of times the vent connection to the chimney is not attached properly, not flashed properly. So that means that there's potentially dangerous gases that are seeping back out into the house. So those are the things that I prioritize.
And the structural issues too, right?
Yes.
As far as
structural issues when I'm in the basement and I see evidence of a lot of water, things like that. If I see any bowing of any walls, unlevel floors, these are things that I'm on high alert for. The you know, the water like all the smaller things like that, I'm not so much concerned for, because I know that they're buying this property as an investment. So they're already planning on doing some improvements. But most investors, they aren't hip to the fact that if the vent hood is not properly attached, you could be leaking dangerous gases for your workers, for your tenant. They're not hip to that part. They know that they need to reinstall the furnace so that the fixtures, so that the water pressure comes out right. Like, they know that part. But I'm looking for, again, remember, material defects, safety issues, hazards, things that will affect the value of the home. Those are what I am looking out for most. And in most cases, I find them. I have yet to go in a basement where I did not find some sign, some evidence of active or inactive moisture. It's just a thing, and I notate it. You know what I mean? Like, it may be inactive, but if I'm here and I see it, I indicate it. I was in a basement yesterday where the majority of the floor joists had clear mold. Like, I didn't do a test, I didn't do a swab, so I don't know what type of mold it was, but it was clear mold. It was like white furry, like it was mold all day long. You know what I mean? And it was because I posted about this on my page, there were drain lines that were leaking, right? So they weren't, all of the wastewater was not making it into the main stack. It was leaking. So it was leaking on the floor joists, right? And so over time, it gets mold. Like, I called all of that out. Like, because he needs to, I know that you can go down there and you see standing water and you know, but I was here, and at the time of my inspection, I witnessed an active water leak, which appears to have led to active mold growth. I am highly recommending that you have a plumber come out and evaluate and repair, as well as mold sample testing and mold remediation.
But you still don't like directly call it mold, though. You call it like likely mold, right?
Yeah, or apparent. I don't speak as though it is a fact unless I have the test to back it up. I would say appear to be, or likely, evidenced as, like something like that. Anything
One
else?
more thing on the resolution side of it, it's okay to say recommend replacement, right?
On the what side of it?
Like in the report writing where you're you call out the defect, explain the significance. Is it okay to say recommend replacing, or just say recommend evaluation?
Yeah, if you've identified something that's end of life, you can say I say recommend evaluation and repair or something like that, because again, I'm not a plumber. So what I'm recommending is that a plumber come and evaluate this, and if he or she deems replacement necessary, then that. But because I'm not a plumber, I'm not going to say for sure that this thing or this component or whatever needs to be replaced. What I can say for sure is that it needs to be further evaluated by a qualified plumber. Yep, that's a good point. You got to view a property when it's raining. Pay attention to those gutters and downspouts. Any other questions? Heating, cooling. So everybody, we feel a lot better with the heating and cooling, huh? Ebony, you feel better?
Yeah. I'll probably say I need to go over like the heating a little bit more, just so I can, because I haven't really explained the heating, but I understand the cooling for sure. But no, what Deja just went over, I kind of understand it a little bit more. But I gotta watch more videos over that heating.
One time for Deja, she got this HVAC joint down low key. Deja ain't playing when it comes to the HVAC now. Y'all, Y'all not gonna sleep on my dog Deja. She know this HVAC. You hear me? Heating and cooling. Deja said, enough of the madness, man. I'm about to know this ish. You love to see it. All right, let's get into plumbing. Page 237, chapter 4. Somebody explain to me how we get plumbing, how we get water into our residential homes.
I'll go.
Okay.
All right, so we have the main or the private, public water supply or private water supply. Private would be a well, public's going to be from the city. Then we have the main drain.
The main what?
The water main
Okay.
that runs parallel throughout the streets.
Okay.
And then from there, we're going to meet at the meter. From the meter, we have the service line, which is 12 inches deep and 3/4 of an inch. Right there, we're going to go to the main water shutoff valve. From there, we have distribution pipes, which are going to go to the water heater. From the water heater, we have the cold water dip tube, goes down to the combustion chamber. Down there, we have the pilot light, and we have the thermocouple. And then from there, we're going to have the hot water go out through the hot water dip tube. And then the gases are going to go out through the flue, through the top. And we have the anode rod that acts as the sacrificial rod, which catches all of the, no, not me getting stuck on one little part.
Calcium.
It catches all of the minerals or elements or whatever that's bad in the water from the, yeah. But one question I do have though, because I remembered.
Hold up! One time for Jacob. Let's go, Jacob. Knowing how the plumbing work. Come on, Jacob too. He said, "Hold up, now. I'm tired of her asking me this shit. I got to know this." Okay, what's the question?
Because between the thermostat and the thermocouple, I forgot which one does which. Because I know one of them like regulates the temperature, and does one of them produce the flame, or
one of them what?
One of them like regulates the temperature. I want to say that's probably the thermostat, and the thermocouple. I forgot what that one does.
What's the thermocouple? What does it do? It's a sensor that what?
Activates the pilot light. Or
does it activate it?
Doesn't it shut it off?
It controls the pilot.
Yeah, doesn't it shut it off if it doesn't detect the flame?
Yes. So the thermocouple is a safety sensor. The thermostat is a control, right? So just like Jacob, that was good what you just did. Like you just used your common sense. What you know about a thermostat, you know a thermostat to control the temperature. It's the same concept on the water heater side of things. So the thermocouple is the sensor, a safety sensor to cut it off if we need it. And then the thermostat actually controls it. Okay? All right, good job, Jacob.
So the gas is getting ignited, and
say again.
So just like because I know the furnace has like that sensor also. Is that the same thing as the thermocouple? Is that also called a thermocouple in the furnace?
It's the same concept. Same concept. If there's too much fire, too much heat, this sensor triggers to cut it all down, cut it off. So it's the same concept. All right. Okay. So plumbing. We understand how we get plumbing into our homes. We understand how we get hot water from the water heater. Diego, would you please explain to me a couple of the components of the water heater? Jacob mentioned the dip tube and the thermostat and the thermocouple, so I'm good there. Would you please identify a few more components of the water heater for me, please?
So we have the combustion chamber at the bottom, which heats up the water. We also have the baffle and the flue. That is to expel gases that's created by heating up the water, and that expels to the vent hood. We have the anode rod, which is also known as the sacrificial rod, which is inside the tank and is used to collect rust so the water isn't contaminated. What's another thing?
There's a valve down at the bottom of
we have a TPR valve, and then we also have a drain valve.
Okay. What's the difference?
The TPR valve is a pressure sensitive valve for the tank. The tank gets, I believe it's a 120 psi. I may be wrong, but if it gets to a certain pressure level, the valve will automatically open and release any excess water or pressure, and then there should be a drip pan at the bottom to collect that. And the drain valve is, I guess, just to drain out the tank for service.
That's correct. All right. So so we talked about on the plumbing section, we have water supply, and then we also have water drainage. Basically water coming in and waste going out. Under which one of those is the water coming in under pressure? On the supply side or the drain side?
Supply.
Okay. And on the drain side, what natural force do we use to get waste away from our fixtures down into the main stack and out into the sewer?
Gravity.
That's correct. Because all drain pipes do what?
They're sloped.
Slope which way?
Down.
That's correct. As far as the water distribution system, we have a couple of different materials. What are they?
Can I actually real quick ask a question regarding one of those? The TPR, you had actually asked me on my homework. In our house, the water heater, the TPR valve goes through the wall and outside to the exterior of the house, but it goes directly onto the walkway. Is that allowed or not? Because I actually was going to put it as a defect, but I couldn't. I don't know if that's a defect or not.
In the walkway in the front of the house?
In the back. So basically it's in the backyard. As soon as you go through the little back gate to the backyard, there's the door to the garage, and the TPR valve, I found it is coming on to the exterior of the home.
You may mark it as a defect if where it discharges would be around the foundation. You could maybe notate that. But if it drains at least same thing with the downspouts, at least 5 feet away from the foundation, then it's probably not a big deal, especially since the TPR, if the TPR valve has to release, it's going to be a one-off thing, right? It's going to release, and then you're going to know about it. It's going to be an issue. You're going to rectify that issue and then fix it. So if it was close again to if it discharged close to the foundation, I may point it out to notate it. If not, I probably would let it go.
Okay, thank you.
All right, the distribution pipe materials. What do we got?
PEX and PVC.
PEX,
Copper.
PVC, copper.
Copper. Oh, sorry.
PEX, PVC, copper. What else? We talked about 3 more.
Galvanized.
What else? CPVC.
CPVC. One more.
Gas wire.
It's down in Georgia a lot.
PB.
PB. Polybutylene. PB. So we got copper, CPVC, PVC, galvanized steel, PEX, and polybutylene. If we're in a new home, what are we most likely to see?
PEX.
PEX. If we're in an older home, what are we most likely to see?
Copper.
And or galvanized. That's correct. So those are your distribution pipe materials. Okay. Next, we have our fixtures. What's an example of a fixture? Hold up. Before I get to the fixtures, be clear in terms of the distribution pipe material. Again, know how they're installed. Be familiar with the supports of them. Remember, we talked about horizontally support, vertically support. For copper, we talked about the fact that there is a rigid copper pipe. There's also flexible copper pipe. We have our type K for cash doll, and then we have our type L, and then we have our type M. Clearly, type K, if we're going thickest or thinnest, type cash doll is going to be what?
Thickest.
You hear me? Nobody better get that wrong on the test, okay? So make sure you're clear about the characteristics of those distribution pipe materials. Next, we have our water connectors. Again, water connectors, they just connect the distribution pipe to the fixture. So the distribution pipe is running up from the water heater to the different fixtures, and the water connector is what connects that distribution pipe to the actual fixture. We have our different types of water valves. We talked about a ball valve, butterfly, gate, and globe valve. Just be able to identify each of them. Keep in mind, from a practical perspective in your report, you are likely not going to be identifying what type of valve it is. So that's not a big deal there. On page 258, 259, we talked about the different types of faucets. There is the compression, the ball, the cartridge, and also the disc. Shower valves must limit water temperature to what? How many degrees Fahrenheit? 120. That is correct.
Because Anita, do you operate the valves on your inspection?
Which valves?
I've heard a lot. In like if you go outdoor, like main water shut off, you don't operate any of those, huh?
I don't. I'm not turning your water on or off because you're not about to blame me for nothing that go wrong. No. Okay. Prime example, remember that inspection I told you that I showed up at? The water was off, and so I couldn't inspect, and so I had to come back. And so when I came back, they had fixed whatever and the water was on, but they hadn't turned the main shutoff valve on. So I went and told the realtor, like, hey, there's still no water here in the house. And he was the one that went and turned on the water. And I did it like that for a reason. So if you choose to do it in your business, that's your business. But I'm just telling you, if it's off and it was off for a reason and you turn it on and you mess something up, you could be held liable. So that is outside of our scope to be turning on and off, water. So just be mindful of that. Page 263, our bathtub.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Just going back to the distribution pipes. You said they connect to all fixtures, and do they also connect to appliances as well? Okay. All right.
Yep. Because they need water too. All right, bathtub. What's the drain size for our bathtub?
1.5.
That's correct. 1.5 inches. What's the common size for our bathtub?
30 by 60.
That's correct. For our shower. What's the ceiling height for our shower?
80 inches.
That's correct. 80 inches for the ceiling for our shower. As far as our size, what's the floor area? The minimum required.
900.
Okay, you gonna let me get the question out though, Jacob. I'm just saying. Okay. Y'all fucking study their little book and whatnot. They don't even want to let you ask the question. Okay. All right.
I'm living in this material. You feel me?
All right. Sinks. What's the drain size for a sink?
1 1/4.
1 1/4. That's correct.
Yes.
Question? Okay. 1 1/4 for the drain size for the sink. What is the overflow in a sink for?
To stop the sink from overflowing.
Good answer. Remember, the overflow is the hole in the sink. I always, as a kid, I always wondered what this was for, and I always used to stick little things in there. I never knew what it was for, but the little hole in your sink is so that if for any reason your sink was left running with a stopper, that it would have a place to drain out before it overflowed. So we got our water tank. All right, on the drain side of things, what's the size of our main stack? We're studying for our home inspector exam number 2. Size of the main stack?
3.5.
3 to 4 inches in diameter. What is the material of the main stack?
You said 3 and 4 inches?
3 to 4
Is
inches
it
in diameter.
PVC?
Oh, 3 to 4 inches.
3 to 4 inches in diameter. Yes, PVC is an accepted material. Again, remember our drain lines don't need pressure because they angle down. The vents from the roof bring in air so the wastewater will flow properly. Think of that example of, I just drank all my water, but if we had a jug of water and we turn it upside down and it's trying to come out of the hole of the water, is going to go slow, but if we stab it and we add air into it, then it will allow it to flow more freely. So again, our drain pipes are collecting water from all of our fixtures, the sink, showers, tubs, appliances, and it's all taking it to our main stack to be discharged at the sewer, etc., etc. So for our drain pipe material, what do we have?
Copper.
Drain.
PVC?
This is drain pipe for what?
Say again.
Drain pipes for what? Just any drain?
Yeah.
PVC?
PVC is correct.
So
Galvanized steel?
Galvanized is correct. Do we use galvanized steel now?
No.
Why not?
It corrodes.
It rusts on the inside. That's correct. What else?
Brass.
Brass?
I had a brass. There was a brass pipe that I inspected.
Brass? Are you sure it was brass?
Those copper now, one of them?
For a drain pipe?
Yes.
For a drain pipe material, we got our ABS, cast iron, clay, galvanized steel, or PVC.
Clay.
Place.
Remember, we need to have our clean outs as well on those drain pipes. Be mindful of the different bins, your sanitary teas on as far as your drain pipes are concerned. As far as your toilet, you got your 2 main parts, your tank, your bowl. We need one in every house. The handle initiates the flush. The flange is what connects the toilet to the plumbing. The wax ring is what? What's the wax ring?
The wax string.
Wax ring?
Oh,
it's in between the toilet and the bottom of the floor.
Between the toilet and the drain opening, correct. Correct. So it's toilet flange, then wax ring. What's the proper clearance in front of the toilet? How much space do we need in front of the toilet?
30 inches.
21.
21 savage. 21. How many on the sides?
15.
15. All right. Our traps. What are traps used for?
To stop sewer gases from coming into your home.
How do they do
Protect
that?
the water seal.
Water seal.
They protect they maintain a water seal in order to protect the sewer gases from entering your house. Which fixtures need a trap?
All of them.
Who?
All of them.
All of them. Every fixture drain needs a trap. No more than blank inches horizontally from the fixture outlet. How many? No more than blank inches horizontally from the fixture outlet.
Horizontally fixture outlet.
30 inches horizontally from the fixture outlet. 30
Wait, what?
inches.
What
Is it 3 inches?
30.
Okay,
30 inches. No more than the trap should be located no more than 30 inches horizontally from the drain fixture out from the drain.
Oh, and then 24 inches vertical.
That's correct. The P trap, the water should seal at least how many inches deep?
2.
2. What is the trap size for a bathtub? Trap size. Quarter brick. All right. Hey. Make the trap say hey.
Is it 2.5?
It is not 2.5. Trap size for the bathtub is 1.5 inches. 1.5. All right, your plumbing vents on page 330. They must terminate at least 6 inches above the roof. These vents, again, are to bring air in order to protect the water seal in those traps. The vent system is only used for air, not water. An air admittance valve is used for what? What's up, JoJo? Air admittance valve is used for what?
Is it so that the stream of water isn't so forced? It like puts air in the water so that it's a natural or a smoother flow.
I don't understand what you mean.
Okay.
What is the air admittance valve for? What does it do?
It puts air in the water. It puts air in the water. So
Air in the water?
It creates. All right. So it pushes
Air
it's
in the
not like a flow of water. It's like air also, so it's smoother.
Nehemiah, were you gonna answer?
I think I know this, but isn't it when it detects positive pressure that it pushes the odors back down into the sewer?
So the air admittance valve is used in place when you don't have basically the atmospheric venting, right? So it's a mechanical or forced way to vent the drain. So the air is not in the water, the air is in the drain line. Deja, that's what was wrong with your explanation, okay? Make sure you're clear. The AAV, the air admittance valve, is used in place of the atmospheric venting. So when we don't have that, that's when we use the AAV as a mechanical or a forced way in order to vent the drain. Remember, our vents are only about adding air to the drain line in order to make the flow of the water go.
So with an air admittance valve, you wouldn't have a vent?
Correct. Make sure you have read the whole chapter. So you've read about the wells, you've read about septic tanks, which are technically out of our scope, but that whole private sewage piece just pay attention to the bolded words. To be quite honest with you, in the tests that I've taken and the ones that I've heard from our students taking, there's not a lot of emphasis put on the private system. So like your well, the septic, all of that kind of stuff. There's not a lot of emphasis put on that. It's more put on the private because that's what you will see most commonly. But you still want to be familiar with those terms as well as those associated defects. What questions do you have? Are we getting A's and B's on this next exam or like what? Because honestly, I can't handle anything less than maybe like a C plus. Like anything less than a C plus, I'm gonna be honest. Like I'm gonna leave side. So everybody needs to get at least a C plus. Deal?
Let's do it.
If everybody gets at least a C plus, then we won't have homework for say 2 weeks.
Ooh.
Okay.
I'm that.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Everybody. That's
Let's
all
do it.
that's all 17 of us. I need a C plus or better. And we will not have homework next week or the following week.
So that's a 75 and up.
Is that a C
Hey,
plus?
look, y'all.
I feel like a C plus is like a 78. A 75 is just like a regular C.
I mean, no.
I need a C plus, Deja.
If we're being technical,
76.
All right, I'll give you 75. Everybody give me a 75 and I'll be happy. I'll let y'all be for the next 2 weeks. Deal?
Okay.
Yeah, we can do
Pinky
that.
promise. Give me a pinky. Or it ain't real.
Let's go, y'all.
Okay. Any final questions, comments, concerns, expressions of joy? You guys seem to be much better prepared for this one. Do you feel more confident, more prepared? You seem to be.
Yeah.
I
I
definitely feel more confident.
kind of know what to expect more too with the questions, what they're going to ask, how they're going to ask it.
There will be none of my questions on this exam. There will all be NHIE test questions. So,
Nice.
basically, they will likely all be poorly written. None of my questions. No questions from me. Only straight test questions.
So on this test, it's just the plumbing and the HVAC system?
Is it?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I'm asking, is it?
Heating, cooling, and plumbing.
Site conditions.
Oh, it's site conditions too?
You better listen to your road dog, Deja.
6 feet, first 10, what is it, 6 feet, 6 inches, first 10 feet for the earth?
There it
That's the
is.
only one I remember.
That's a question on the test, for sure. Facts.
Okay, so site conditions plus HVAC and plumbing.
That's correct.
Okay.
How much time are we going to have?
How much time do you think you need to answer
The whole
100
class
questions?
if it's 100 questions?
No, not happening. We got to do interior after the test, so not happening.
You said they were poorly written. I'd be reading, having to read the question 5 times.
Well, if you know the information, you won't have to read it 5 times.
True.
Let's meet it with the clapbacks.
Let me see. 100 questions. Probably 40 minutes or so. About 40 minutes should be enough to answer 100 questions. And then we're gonna get into the interior section. We coming down to crunch time. We gotta study long, study wrong. Either you know it or you don't. We ain't got all day for you to be hemming and hawing, changing your answers a million times and all that kind of stuff that I know y'all do. So, know your information. Go through the exam, answer everything that you know first. On this exam, you should practice your not only the practical information, but your test taking skills. Whatever it is that you think you need to do to calm yourself down, to center yourself, breathing, yoga, hit the jet, I don't know, whatever you need to do, do it before class. And come, practice that. Practice your timing. Go through, answer everything first, then go back through. Practice everything. Again, we're in a simulation, trying to simulate the testing experience as much as we possibly can. Okay? I'm excited. I think you guys are going to do well. I'm excited not to have to grade any homework for 2 weeks, possibly. Hey, Any final questions, comments, concerns? All right. If nothing else, I will let you go. I will see you on Sunday for our exam. Once we finish, we will get into the interior section. Everybody will score at least 75 or above, and there will be no homework for next week. I'll see you on Sunday. Be blessed.
Appreciate you, cuz.
Peace.
All right, good night.
Have a good recordings.
All right, y'all. So y'all just got to be a part of our Inspector Flow Friday study sessions. Every Friday we have a study session. Every Sunday we have class. On Sunday they have an exam. So that's how we just reviewed and practiced for our exam. If you're interested in becoming a home inspector, text 330-625-5286. Y'all be blessed too. Peace.